So it looks like I'm finally getting around to this. A while ago I did a breaking down my anime 3x3 video, where I basically went through my 3x3 and explained why I liked all the shows I did. And what brought about that one was when I found Sankatsu no Lion. And so I thought I was going to get to this earlier, for reasons I'll go into. But what kind of held me back was my One Piece, my history with One Piece video, because I guess getting right into the 3x3, One Piece it's just been super important to me for over a decade. So I felt like I needed to give that a dedicated discussion. Like, not explaining like why it's good. Like, that video I just explained my history with One Piece. But if you want to see like my just basic why One Piece is good or why it emotionally connects to me, watch the Beyond Blood video on my main channel, because that's where the emotional core of One Piece lies for me personally. And I think you can also see it judging by, say, like my disappointment in how Fairy Tail sort of jumbles those same themes in part 4 of the Fairy Tail series, and also my negative reaction to Your Lie in April, which you could really see in the Sankatsu no Lion Your Lie in April comparison video. But yeah, I'm not going to talk much more about One Piece here because I already did that. So moving on, I still have this problem where I haven't reread some of the manga on my 3x3 in a while. So to just go through the ones I think I'll have the least to say on, 20th Century Boys was, like, when I first read it, this was back, like, around late high school, just after high school maybe. I remember thinking, like, I think I almost like this as much as One Piece. Like, I was literally sitting there debating, like, if I liked it more than One Piece or not. And ultimately, my love for One Piece survived a bit longer than with 20th Century Boys. I did reread it later, and I still really liked it, but, like, I remember liking the, just the general mystery and story to it. There were a few characters I enjoyed. People say it goes downhill. Maybe if you've been listening to my stuff lately, or like reading Curious Cat Answers that I've been putting up, like, you probably know my stance on weekly reading or reading something as it's coming out, and so I'm not quite sure if it actually gets worse later on, or because I don't remember having a major, like, my favorite. I think my favorite, because it's divided into, I guess, 4 parts. The main story is divided into 3, and then there's like an epilogue manga called 21st Century Boys. And each of the 3 parts in the main story are separated by pretty lengthy time skips. And in particular, I remember liking the second part a lot because I liked Kana. I liked her as a character. And then you had Otcho or Shogun. He was cool. Kenji, friend. Like, I guess. I remember liking a lot about it. I definitely enjoy Urasawa. Like, Pluto is also here, so I'm definitely a fan of Urasawa. I want to reread Monster too, but like, because it's been so long, like, I couldn't tell you like what does that all mean? Because I like finding themes in things and dissecting like what it means, what was it trying to do, what is it trying to say? Because, like, I guess part of it is that, like, it legitimizes it in my mind. Like, if it's all in service of something, like, themes are this thing that people decided were good. So by finding the themes and how they're told in a work, I get to say, like, look, this thing is good. But I haven't done that with 20th Century Boys, and maybe it's a fucking mess. I don't know, because it's one of my favorite analytical YouTube videos is explaining the ending of Monster by the nameless YouTuber who goes by Rika Fag or Mr. Cynical on Twitter. Or no, Mr. Cynical on Twitter, Rika Fag just in general. But he thinks 20th Century Boys is trash, and I don't know why, because it was just mentioning it offhand, and I'm like, oh, one of my favorite manga is actually trash. So I wouldn't mind hearing what he thinks, like, in private or something, and then applying that when I reread it. But yeah, I definitely think it'll be worth the reread, whether I come away from it enjoying it more or less. And in general, Urasawa, like, I want to read all of his works. I haven't read, I need to reread Billy Bat, because I read it as it was being translated, or being released. I need to reread Monster. I think he did another one called Yawara or Happy, or maybe those are 2 different things, or maybe they're the same. I don't remember. And I think he's doing something else now, but it's probably not very far in. But I wanna engage in everything he's done, because I guess moving on, Pluto is, it's actually a sort of readaptation of, it's like a darker, grittier readaptation of an arc from Astro Boy. And I didn't know at first, so I was like, what the fuck, when I found it out, because because the translation I read called him Adam, because in Japan, he's Adam, not Astro Boy. So I didn't click it together and then I thought about it after the fact, and I'm like, oh, Oh, and the thing is that there's one of the antagonists is like a teddy bear who's who's also a supercomputer that and like why I don't really know. I don't really know the character. And then there's like this creepy fucking robot who he's like the only known robot to have killed a human, which is against the laws of the robotics. And what was weird about it is that he there was no known malfunction in his programming, so he sort of kept alive as a prisoner, like stuck in like a wall with a spear. And Jesus fuck I was just remembering, I'm like, like he doesn't even look like weird. He's just like a normal kind of robot. He's just all broken and destroyed. Like he hits the uncanny valley of robots, which isn't a thing except that I just came up with right now. And he's got a lot of presence. And but yeah, it's I enjoyed the mystery. I enjoyed the characters. Lots of emotional moments. Like I guess like I feel like I worry that the sort of robots as people thing, like iRobot, Westworld, Ghost in the Shell? No, maybe. I don't know. I feel like some people are getting like tired of that, or that it's maybe becoming a bit overdone. But at the same time, I really like it. Like I did really like Westworld, and Pluto does that. It's probably my favorite work in that sort of like genre because like. I talked about it, or I used it as an example briefly in my Danganronpa 2 video. I remember flipping through the manga, and like I got misty-eyed twice, and then I was outright crying like two other times. Just not rereading the manga, just like skimming through it and remembering moments. And like that's if that happens, that's when I decide something's a 10 out of 10 for me, or because like it's just like it's an undeniable emotional connection where it's just like just remembering it is just drives that emotion home for me. And like Pluto does that, because Pluto, like I remember first reading it, just like the first volume, I think maybe it gets it just ends on this. It like introduces this character in like the last couple chapters, and then just at the end, and then it just hits. It just fucking hits, and it doesn't slow down with the emotional moments. So yeah, I don't necessarily need to reread it, but I want to reread. I want to read Astro Boy first because I want to see the original arc that it's adapting, because I guess the arc it's the world's strongest robot, where there's Pluto, who's I guess the 8th strongest robot after the 7 recognized strongest robots in the world, and Pluto just starts systematically destroying them. And yeah, and I want to see how the original went, because I've seen like there's a comparison image of comparing Tezuka's designs from Astro Boy with Urasawa's redesigns, because Urasawa, like, see, the thing about Tezuka is like people keep trying to modernize him, like Young Blackjack or Tetsuo or Atom the Beginning, and like Atom the Beginnings weren't that bad, but I fucking hate the designs in Young Blackjack. Like they repulse me, because like they're like trying to like make Tezuka's style, cartoony style, in more of a modern anime look, and it just looks really jarring and disgusting, and I don't like it. But Urasawa, he does it. He turns it into his own style, and it's to the point, like, I read the manga, and I didn't know that it was Astro Boy. I didn't recognize it as Tezuka. Like, that's how good his designs were. Like, but now that I know, I can see, like, oh yeah, that's Tenma. I know how he looks in Tezuka. I know how he looks in Pluto. I can see the connection, but the designs stand apart. And that's I guess my issue with the designs of, like, Young Blackjack, where I can tell it's Tezuka, but other than that, it looks like shit. And I don't like it. I mean, not all of them, not all the designs in Young Black. Some of them, like the cute girls, they were cute back then. They're cute now. They survive just fine. But again, it's the cartoony, weird-looking guys, especially. And I'm also not a fan of Bishonen Blackjack himself. Just no. I mean, sure, fine, sexualize him or whatever. Not even sexualized, but I don't know. Young Blackjack, I don't even remember it was that bad. I just fucking hated how it looked, and it just I never got over it. Yeah, another one one that I'm not 100% sure how much I'll say about is a Reel, by Takehito Inoue? Takehiko Inoue, yeah. I know he's done Vagabond and Slam Dunk, and I definitely want to read them, because Reel is one of my favorite sports series. Like, I don't know if I like it more than Chihaya Furu or not, mostly because I rewatched and reread Chihaya Furu more recently with Reel, but because Reel is definitely the epitome of sort of like, it's not about the sport manga, because it's about, quote in quotation marks, wheelchair basketball, but really it's about dealing with disability, and not just even as just being disabled. Like, one of the main characters starts out the series disabled. Another one like later on becomes disabled, but like the other main character, he himself is not disabled even at as far as I remember in the story, but his actions of him being a dumbass crippled someone else, and so he's sort of dealing with that guilt. And then I think he's friends with another disabled person, so he's trying to work through his own things. So just really interesting, character drama and the art is fucking beautiful. Like, I've seen bits of Vagabond 2, and the dude can fucking draw, is what I'm trying to say. So, which is part of the reason I want to read all his shit. But yeah, like, the author, his ability to sort of just sell the emotions through the art or through, like, visual metaphor, is that how you would say it? Like, I remember one where the character who starts the series crippled, he didn't start, I don't think he started his life crippled, because I remember, or maybe it was a different character. I remember there's like one shot he was like a runner, and track star, and then he was like in one scene sort of he was running, and you can sort of see like his leg gets ripped off, so you see it, he like turns around and he sees it sticking in the ground, and it's like this really striking image, for him basically losing his leg, and that's like it's not literally how it happened. It's again the visual metaphor, and it's just he does a lot, just like he just sells like the despair of being that helpless and disempowered, which of course that's the conflict is them trying to push past that, push beyond that, because it's not an easy it's like rolling a wheelchair up a ramp. It's the Sisyphusian boulder kind of thing. It's maybe not that impossible, but that's what it feels like, isn't it? I suppose I've never been crippled, but I don't know. I definitely recommend reading Real, because it's I'm probably not doing it justice here, but it's good. So moving on, I guess it's a sport if you really stretch your definition. Steel Ball Run. No, it's not. It's an action series. JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. JoJo's Bizarre Adventure in general, I really enjoy, but its quality dips and rises. Part 1, everyone says just quickly go through it so you can get to part 2, which is amazing. Part 3 is okay. Like the characters and interactions, like the villains are just kind of like one thing I like about part 4 is how I felt like, because in part 3 most of the villains are just like evil guys who work for Dio, and maybe they have like a quirk or something. But with part 4, I feel like he tried to like, instead of just like a stand battle, like you could, if you remove the stands, you still have like Koichi gets harassed by his stalker, or Josuke and Okuyasu go into a restaurant. It's really creepy and weird. Like it's just like normal, like that. I think that's why people call it like the slice of life JoJo, because like if you remove the stands, you can still sort of imagine how it might work as like a gag comedy almost, or not, maybe not a gag comedy, but just a slice of life comedy. Just without, but instead it's a slice of life comedy with like hot-blooded stand tactical battles and action. But in doing so, he also characterized the antagonists better. Like so many of them, end up being sort of allies, just because like the stakes aren't as high, so the conflicts are more. The conflicts are still sold with emotion, but I guess what the antagonists are trying to do isn't necessarily as bad as like what the antagonists in part 3 are doing, and I think that, I don't know, I think it works better for part, which I think that's why part 4 is liked. 5 and 6, they're pretty controversial, so I don't remember much of them. Like, I'm sure there's some good fights, I'm sure, but it's been a little while. But part 7 was actually how I got into JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, because I tried to read part 1 like once or twice, and I could never get into it, and I never got to part 2. But part 7, I forget why I read it. Maybe I heard it was standalone, maybe I just didn't know it was JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, because after part 6, which did really poor in the rankings, Shonen Jump basically went to Araki, and they were like, okay, don't do JoJo's Bizarre Adventure anymore. No one likes it. And Araki's like, okay, I'm going to do Steel Ball Run. All the characters are going to be named JoJo characters, but there's no stands. It's not JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. And then he went, never mind, I'm introducing stands. Also, it was JoJo's Bizarre Adventure the whole time, but since you don't want this in Jump, I'm going to another magazine. And that's why JoJo's Bizarre Adventure is seinen now, because Araki said fuck you and left because he wanted to do JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. So, but yeah, I read it, and, it just, like, the characters are, JoJo or Johnny and Gyro are fucking great. Like, at this point, Araki had sort of, like, he had an idea of what he was doing with stands, so the abilities were, like, weird and interesting, and the spin is, like, a bit more, like with Haman is just a really vague ability that can just kind of do anything. Like I don't remember, like they say it can only work on organic materials, but then it also like there's also like inorganic materials that like this was made so you can use Haman on it. Like it's kind of arbitrary a little bit, and so I feel like I'm glad that it was dropped because it was just kind of a fucking mess of an ability that could just kind of do anything. Spin has a little of that, but it's much more grounded because he has to at least meaningfully, or not meaningfully, but justifiably tie its abilities to spinning. So it's a bit more limited in that way, but he can explore it fully because there's nothing to like break, basically, or it's because with Haman there's no real limit, so there's nothing to really explore except like the limitless, and that's not necessarily interesting. Well, with stands and spin, they have limits to what they can do and rules, so there's something to actually explore within those boundaries. And yes, but yeah, part 7, I like the adventure aspect. I like the it's not just like they have the fights, but it's not just like them fighting because there's the race so it's like and the race is like an aspect to a lot of the characters. So it's like, do they fight and take up a lot of time, or do they try to win the race? And because they have their own goals, their own reasons for being in the race. So there's another layer to the conflict, as opposed to like part 3 where it's just like go to place, or part 2 where it's like, we got to get stronger to beat these bad guys, or part 4 where it's like, I guess there's a murderer somewhere, I hope we find him. Like there's more direction, I guess, which isn't necessarily a bad thing for the other parts. I do really like parts 2 and 4, but and I do like the whole series overall, but yeah, part 7 is just my favorite. So anyway, moving on to, do I really need to say much about Hunter x Hunter? Like, honestly, I'm not sure if it will be, like, it's weird to say, like, is Hunter x Hunter going to survive this list, or my 3x3, just because, like, like, I enjoy the characters, I enjoy the story, like, the Nen system is fucking perfect, like, it basically does everything an ability system should, like on, not just in, like, making interesting fights or applying to characters, but also in, like, one of the things I like about it is how the characters design their own abilities and give them their own limitations. Like, with Devil Fruit or stands, like, they have limitations. Like, stands usually get weaker the farther you are away from the user. Or, Devil Fruits are weak if water and sea stone. But with Nen, they put their own limitations on them. So, like what limitation they put on themselves, like, what does that say about the character? Like, what are they willing to sacrifice for their goal? Like, Kurapika's like the epitome of this. If he uses the ability X or Y on someone who isn't one of the Phantom Troop, he dies. Like, that's how far he's willing to go to stop the Phantom Troop. Castro, he spent so much time, the guy who fought Hisoka in Heaven's Arena, he spent so much time perfecting his one ability to beat Hisoka, he forgot the fucking basics of Nen. Like, he gave himself tunnel vision out of his strong desire, and he just couldn't, and that's why he lost. And, like, that's a really interesting aspect of Nen, and it is just what you get out of Nen what you put into it, which is technically true of, like, a lot of abilities, but it's like, there's no lottery there. Like, with stands, you just kind of get the one that you get. With Devil Fruits, it's very difficult to get the power you want. Like, for Blackbeard, he wanted the Darkness Fruit, and it took him fucking 20 years. Like, 20 years on a pirate crew just to get one power. Like, if it was Hunter x Hunter, he would have had his power much less, because he could have just designed it the way he wanted. But anyway, so I do like it, but it's like, I gotta ask about comparing sort of One Piece and Hunter x Hunter, and sort of like, which do I think is better critically? And, like, Hunter x Hunter is, like, I guess it's less flawed overall. Like, it does have, probably the biggest issue with Hunter x Hunter is the art inconsistency. Like, Togashi is literally apparently dying. Like, he's got health problems, so he can only expend so much effort to draw. So as a result, you get, like, every chapter you have, like, a few pages that look, like, really good, but then you'll have a couple pages that are, like, they're shit. Like, they're just all dialogue. Or, I think the Greed Island, like, especially if you see look up the Greed Island redraws, and find the one where he drew, like, a turkey, because, like, the top panel it's just this hyper detailed turkey. Like, it looks amazing. Like, you've never seen a turkey drawn so well in your life. But the rest of the page it's like characters dancing in the party, and they're like scribbles. They're like drawn on a napkin, kind of. Like, that's really just like the encapsulation of the issue with Togashi. It's like priorities. He does really good art, because I know he's a good artist, but then he does the scribbles because, like, maybe he just can't keep up with weekly serialization thanks to his health. But, like, I don't know, maybe it'd be better suited moving to a monthly manga. Then you'd have more time. Like, if you do weekly serialization in a month, you have to put out 4 chapters. That's like, maybe you get a break. That's like 60 to 80 pages. But if a monthly serialization usually has more detailed art because they have 30 to 40 pages, maybe more, in the same in the same period. So, maybe Togashi would be better suited to that than Jump, or a weekly manga, because Jump has a monthly. I'm sure the company that owns Jump, Shueisha, I don't know, I don't remember, but I'm sure they have a monthly manga that they could just like, but that's like that's a pretty big decision. So, but anyway, back to the critical, like, do I think Hunter x Hunter is better critically than One Piece? It's like, I want, because the thing about One Piece is like there doesn't exist enough good analysis on it. Like my Beyond Blood videos, hopefully a step in the right direction, but like there's still so much more to say, like about all the characters, about so many of the arcs, about so many of the conflicts, about so much of it, and like Mr. Morge, he's a YouTuber. He does he does really short videos, and I'm like, no, I want something more. I want something more. So he's doing what he can, but it's like it doesn't exist. Well, with Hunter x Hunter, you got like Alexander, who's got like fucking a dozen Hunter x Hunter videos going in depth. I've only seen one of them, and it was pretty good. But so it's like I feel like on the question of like which is better critically, I feel like both of them need way more analysis and discussion. And Hunter x Hunter is getting it. Like people take Hunter x Hunter seriously. Like, but with One Piece, I don't quite think it's there yet. Even though it's it's long, even though it's longer, and maybe it's because it's longer and more popular. It's people just dismiss it when it's fucking good. But so it's like Hunter x Hunter. Like I totally understand people liking it, but I don't know. It's just like I don't feel the need to dig into it myself as much because other people are doing it, and no one's digging into my favorite thing. So. Hunter x Hunter being my second or third favorite action thing after One Piece is actually really good. But I guess the other thing is like the art inconsistency. Like, let's put it this way: if say Hunter x Hunter finishes, and then I think it was Madhouse, whoever did the 2011 adaptation, if they do like another like 148 episodes to like finish Hunter x Hunter, like. That'll be the better version, let's be honest, because it's got the soundtrack, like the art is consistent, it doesn't have like the best Sakuga, like people say the 1999 adaptation, or 98 or whatever, is it's like, it's more well directed and it has better animation, like, I've seen some of it, yeah, but like, it's not a complete story, that's like, the 2011 adaptation has like an ending, it's not a perfect ending, but it ends, and like, I personally don't like the 98 adaptation because I hate the color palette, and the character designs, it just not all the character designs, like Kurapika's fine, but it's like I was scrubbing through footage of the Zoldyck arc and I saw Silva and he looked fucking horrifying and hideous and I was like, what the fuck? Why would they draw him like this? So it's just like I literally can't watch it. And I'm also just not into the like I'm sure the anime original stuff is fine, some of it. Mathwiz said some of it's interesting, but it's not canon. I don't particularly care. I care more about Togashi's story, Togashi's vision for the story, than I care for like someone else's interpretation and additions to that story. Unless like with One Piece, I watch the filler arcs, but that's a bit more personal because if you listen to my history of One Piece video, I talk about how I personally explored the setting and world of One Piece through like roleplay and fan fiction. So by watching filler arcs, I get to sort of see someone else explore the setting and usually not say anything interesting or try to do anything interesting. So I guess like with Hunter x Hunter, like I guess I could try it on that merit, but it's just like it's kind of ugly, so I don't like it to me. But so yeah, that and like that's that's the other thing I was gonna get to, because like again, manga or anime with Hunter x Hunter is like the manga is going to be the more complete story, but it's like I also have this issue with Sankatsu no Lion and Chihayafuru because I love the manga for both of them, like they're like 10 out of 10 manga, but note how they're not on my 3x3. It's just like I don't want to put a series on both of them if I like the only reason I put Chihayafuru here is because I like it for basically the same reasons as the anime. I just prefer the first season of the anime to the manga. The second season is about the same as the manga. The third season hasn't come out yet, but holy shit, there's gonna be a third season. But like that's the thing, is the manga, again, the manga is the complete story, so I should like it more. It's just that it adapts it really well, especially in season 1. Like, because they actually changed things around in season 1, like the order of things, certain events, and they flesh out some characters differently. And it's like season 1 is just legit better than the material it adapts. And season 2 is about the same because they change less. They adapt to less chapters, I think, so it's stretched out a little bit more. like there might have been production problems or something too, because I remember there was like a recap episode, and then a couple episodes later there's like a third of the episode is dedicated to more recap, and I'm like, oh my god, why? But yeah, and Sangatsu is my favorite. I have that on my anime one because I read the manga and I really liked it, but it wasn't until watching the anime that it really clicked for me, and I went, this is a favorite of mine. So, and season 2's been great so far. But yeah, with Hunter x Hunter, like, you know, maybe in the future I'll have the 2011 one, especially if it gets a sequel. Then I might say that's one of my favorite anime, and then Hunter x Hunter is like, I like the manga, but it's, you know, I just prefer the anime, so maybe the Hunter x Hunter won't be on my manga 3x3 anymore. But I don't know, that's just a personal thing. Like I like both, but is dying really an excuse for having inconsistent art? Yes. But that doesn't make the art, like, I don't know. It's still a flaw. Like, it's not perfect. Nothing is perfect. It just, okay, anyway, moving on. Bokura no. Oh, Bokura no. Oh my god. The anime of this isn't very good. Don't watch it. Or, I mean, the opening theme is good, and apparently because, like, see people say that the director didn't like the manga ending. What I thought was interesting about that is that the anime came out before the manga ended, so I presume that he, like, talked to the author, and the author explained where the manga was going, and the director of the anime didn't like it, so he changed the ending, and it was stupid, because, like, he introduces stuff that never gets wrapped up because it was, and then he butchers a couple characters, and he tones some aspects down, so it's like, the point is to... It's a dark manga. It's supposed to make you feel like shit for reading it. So you can't tone it down and still carry the same effect. Just saying, like, oh my god, just the character drama is just on fucking point. And, like, I guess the premise is that it's 15 middle schoolers have to collectively pilot a robot to save the universe. And I don't want to say anymore because it's spoilers, but it's also agony. There's some rough shit. Like, I think Volume 3, like, the third character who gets explored, like, her arc is just devastating. Like, just remembering it, I'm like, But since I can't really I don't want to spoil it, like, because, you know, I want people to read my favorite manga if they haven't already, but it's like, hopefully my reaction is at least, not annoying the shit out of people, but yeah, Boku no is sort of up there with, like, Pluto and One Piece, and where, like, just remembering things makes me feel things, and I can't deal. But anyway, on to the more recent editions, because what triggered my edition of Sangatsu no, what triggered my anime video was, Sangatsu no Lion, and what I thought was going to trigger my manga video was Made in Abyss, because I read it a little bit, like a week or two after an anime started. I'd seen images and I was like, that looks mildly interesting, and then I was on 4chan, and on V some people were, it was just a completely unrelated thread, and then suddenly Made in Abyss, it's just how V works. It just happens where you can do, like, here's the thing, here's a secret for you. If you want to talk about something on V, you include an image of the thing you want to talk about, and then in the actual, like, thread, you just say something vaguely video game related, like, what are some good games about robots, but people will just always ignore what you ask and talk about what you want, what you put as a picture in the thread, because that's just, yeah, it's just how it works. But anyway, people posted, like, some out of context, horrific images of, I guess I'm not going to spoil it, even though I feel like everyone's watched Made in Abyss, the transformation sequence, in the flashback, Nanachi's flashback. I don't think, it's even more gruesome in the is it more, either way, it's pretty fun. And out of context, it's just even, like, what the fuck is going on? And then there was another image from later on in the arc that hasn't been adapted yet, of a character being experimented on. Is that's a way to put it? And it's like, I know these fucking horrific things happen to children. And then I also keep hearing the name Bone Druid, who's the Bone Druid. Yeah, he's a bad guy. He's also one of my favorite villains ever, but anyone who's only seen the anime would not be able to, or, like, I'd have to spoil it to explain why, because the arc after the material that got adapted is like, oh fuck, like, that's when the manga is, like, at its best thus far. Like, it's, holy shit, that arc is great. But it was funny reading the manga, because, like, that night, like, let this tell you about my tastes. Like, I made a video on this channel called, like, Made in Abyss is not edgy, but, like, I read it because I guess it looked pretty edgy. No, that's a bad way of putting it, but it's like, I don't know, it's like, cause it's, I don't know, why did I read it? Like, it was interesting, like, something about seeing the fucking, how fucked up it was, made me want to see it even more, like, or read it even more, and I did, and I read it in, like, I read 5 volumes in, like, one night, and it was fucking insane. Cause like, the thing is like, I knew bad things happen to children, and it starts out with, like, here's a bunch of children, and I'm like, okay, like, one of you is probably gonna die, and that's not really how it went, but, like, every time Bone Druid got fucking mentioned, I would like flinch, and cause I knew he was responsible for some fucked up shit, and I actually see it. I'm like, oh fuck, and I still have that reaction. Like, he still has this just fucking presence that just gets to me, and he's also like an interesting, nuanced character, and. I see. I said I was going to do a video on him, sort of. Yeah, in my at the end of Fairy Tail Part 7, I had like a little teaser image with like, I'm gonna do a video on Chaos Child and Danganronpa V3 and Made in Abyss and La Mulana. And I've done some of those videos, but the reason I'm hesitating on the Bone Druid one is because of the anime. Because people are people going to watch my video if it's got a lot of manga spoilers? I don't know. Like, maybe it would survive that, like. Because my last main Abyss video, I kind of had to put out before the anime ended, because it was kind of implicitly part of the tirade of Fairy Tail, because I did the video on Fairy Tail's female characters and fan service, then I did a video on Maiden Abyss's fan service. So that's the only reason it came out when it did. Otherwise, I would have waited. But so yeah, it's like with the Bone Druid video, it's like what would the best time to put it out be for if I want to? I mean, now the anime has been announced, and it's like it's actually going to be two recap movies and an OVA, so maybe I'll just go forward with the Bone Druid video, because it might not get adapted. I think I might wait a little longer for more news, because I have some other stuff to do in the meantime, but back to Made in Abyss. Like, the art is fucking gorgeous. Like, I want to buy it because the manga scans are kind of low quality. Like, I don't know if the pages are actually gray, or if but it's like a web manga, so, like... Is the author just that bad? Like, well, I don't understand the production of it. I thought it was a web manga, but the pages look like they're scanned not very well because they're gray, kind of gray, or maybe the manga's supposed to be grayer, like not be on bright paper. So what's it gonna look like when I buy the physical volume? Like, because the artwork is just fucking gorgeous. The character designs are fucking adorable. Nanachi is just like, she's so cute. Like, I have a Nanachi folder, so I could just be like, I want to see some cute Nanachis, and I just look, and I got, yeah, there's all my cute Nanachis, and it's like, I'm actually going to put an image on the screen, because it's, like, legitimately, like, it's, in the corner you got, like, Reg and Nanachi sleeping, and Reg's sleeping, and he's, like, dreaming of this, like, landscape of just a bunch of Nanachis, like, being adorable, and it gives me diabetes, and it's fucking cute. Or no, I won't put it on the screen, but I'll link it in the description. My heart. But yeah, and it's like, it's got the like, I kind of talked about this in my Main Abyss video on my main channel. It's like, it's like the cute characters are supposed to be in juxtaposition against the darkness, the horrific shit that happens. But like, overall, there's this hopeful message. Just like, there's a reason for it. Like, I've never felt like it's like, oh, it's just edgy to get, or grim and dark to get views and attention. Like, yeah, it got it views and attention. That's why I read it. But it's also there for a meaningful reason, and hopefully by going into Bone Druid's character, I can even further vindicate that idea. But yeah, it's fucking good. If you've only seen the anime, read the manga, because I don't know when the season 2, if there's going to be a season 2 or when. And maybe I misheard on the OVA episode and recap movies. Like, the recap movies are definitely happening, but I don't know what the extra episode means. It sounds like an OVA, but I don't know. I don't even know what it would be, because it can't really continue the story, because beyond where the anime adapted, it just starts the next arc. So is it going to be just anime original material, like they did that with on the third layer in the anime? So I have no idea. But yeah, I guess one other thing about the manga I liked, and one of the reasons I consider it my favorite, is because, like, the fucking world building. Like, it's only 5 volumes, but especially reading the manga, you get, like, these little interpages with just little, like, a little extra information on these monsters, or some of the mechanics, like how they send letters up, or anything. They use, like, little, like, balloons, small balloons. But, like, one of the earlier pages sort of explains the difference. Like, there's one balloon that's made with, I think, the flowers or the seeds, and like it doesn't float out of the abyss. Like it sort of it'll hover in the abyss so that it can be easily picked up. But the smell it gives off attracts animals. So it's at risk from being it's at risk from being attacked. But like gas lanterns, they don't give off the smell that attracts animals, so they're more likely to get to the top. But they also don't stop in the abyss, so they're also it's also possible that like it might just like sort of fly out of the abyss in the middle of the night and no one will catch it, and then it'll just like end up in the ocean somewhere. So it's like this like little detail that just it gives like there's sort of like a risk reward to each of these two methods of sending up letters, and it's just so it's just a little detail that doesn't really matter, but it's interesting, and it's neat that it was conceived of, and just the world has all these little details in this world building that just it reminded me of like reading One Piece and Hunter x Hunter, and like if it's reminding me about some other manga that are on my 3x3, then it probably deserves to be among them, and it's really good. I like Man Abyss. It's good. So I think I've talked about everything, but now I get to talk about the one that's might be the most surprising if you've heard about it. And I personally was very surprised to be putting this on my 3x3, Nisekoi. So, well, this is the actual reason I'm doing this video now, is because, like I said, I thought I would do this with the addition of Made in Abyss, but I couldn't because I needed to do the One Piece video. But now I'm doing it with the addition of Nisekoi, because Nisekoi is fucking amazing, and not very many people realize why. Because, yeah, it's a harem comedy, but it's like the best harem comedy because all the characters are really fucking good and funny, and like, yeah, they fill the archetypes. Like Chitoge, the main girl, she's a tsundere, but it's like she starts out like a classical tsundere, like she outright just does not like the main character, but as she comes to like him, like the series is called Fake Love, and so it's like the whole premise is that she's supposed to be in a relationship. She as it's like a kind of forced Romeo and Juliet thing with their two Yakuza families. To keep the families from warring, these two were told to fake a relationship, and so they have to pretend to be girlfriend and boyfriend in front of everyone, even though they don't like each other at all. But then, of course, as it goes on, she does come to like him, but it's like, so she has to pretend to be his girlfriend, but then she likes him, but then she has to pretend not to like him because that's just because of how he treats her, not treats her, but it's like how it's mutual, like they mutually like kind of like each other but also kind of dislike each other, and so like why would she, it's like that's the thing, it's like actually part of her interpersonal conflict, like like one of my favorite moments towards the end is she's like going on a date with him, and they get in a fight, and he calls her like a violent brute, and she like does the slapstick thing, and she's like, "Who are you calling a violent brute?" And then the next panel is like she's like, her face is like contorted in pain, and she's like there's like a tears in her eyes, and she's like, "It's me, I'm the violent brute, it's me." And it's like it's fucking funny as like her, but it's like also like her character flaw, like it fucking matters to her character. It's not just like, oh, she's a tsundere because it's a tsundere and a harem comedy. Like, no, she's also a really good tsundere. Like, she's a great character. They're all great all the fucking girls are great characters. The comedy is good. It's able to just like fucking introduce Ruri. She's like one of the side characters, and she gets like a little like 3-chapter arc with her great grandfather, and in fucking 3 chapters it endears you to this new character and just starts making you feel things. I'm like, what the fuck? I just met you, old guy. No, I don't want to feel things. No, stop it. I'm feeling things. And like the comedy is great. The interactions are great. Like everyone has their own relationship with the other kind, like, because they're all friends with each other, even though they all like the same guy, and that's like, but there's like, I need to do a fucking video on it. There might be a video on it. It might not just be me. Wink. Vague foreshadowing. Because like the thing is that it just like it owns the harem I guess here's a comparison for you. Chaos Head, the visual novel, which I always have to specify. Like Chaos Head sort of like plays with the idea of the sort of like of harem tropes in a way, where it's like the main character, he's like, okay, let's just conceptualize what's the generic tired visual novel. The main character is like some kind of nerd or hikikomori to relate to the average nerd or hiki who would buy the games, but they're not really portrayed as flawed because the you're supposed to self-insert, but the audience doesn't want to question themselves, so they're just this boring, flat character who has some vague traits that aren't really explored, and then there's all these girls to choose from, and they fall into their archetypes, and and then you choose which one you want through your routes, and you do all the other routes because you bought the game, you're gonna get your fucking money out of it. Yeah, that so like with Chaos Head, like Takumi, he's yeah, he's a Hikikomori character, but it's actually like part of his character. Like they actually explore that idea through him. Like the way I sort of describe it is he's the mirror held up to the audience, basically, of that sort of generic visual novel. Like if he saw Chaos Head in a store, he would see like the cute girls on the cover with swords, and he'd be like, I'm fucking buying this right now. Like that's just he is the audience sort of, and so but and it twists it because like all that like he's suddenly the main object of interest for all these fucking cute girls. What's up with that? But it's played into the horror elements. All the girls are kind of fucked up. It's a corruption of what a harem is. But Nisekoi is more like an acceptance of what the harem is. Like Raku, the main character, he's perfect, but it's not. He's not he's the focal point of the story, and he does have his like his flaws are like they're mostly to round out his character, but they're not necessarily there to be meaningful explored, because like the whole point is that all the characters around him sort of like he's the perfect harem protagonist, but it's done in a way that sort of everyone around him grows from him. Like all the girls like improve themselves to because of him and like his best friend. And so again, like I said, it's the acceptance of what a harem is, and then through doing so it like perfects it. And like cuz like okay, see like the first like 18 17 volumes or so, they're just like really solid comedy, and it's like, well, even then, and it lands on these emotions, the characters are good, but like the last few volumes, like I had to read them all in one night because they just start wrapping up the character arcs, and like every fucking character gets resolution, and it's so fucking good. Like why can't every series do this just so succinctly? Like it was gripping, I couldn't stop reading, and then I was like, I finished and I'm like, oh god, my emotions, and I'm like, holy fuck, it's a 10 out of 10. It's this fucking, and the funniest part is that I dropped it. I had dropped the manga before. I read it a few years ago. I read like a volume and a half, and I dropped it because I was like, I'm bored. And then I got a recommendation from someone who was able to sort of break down like, all they told me was that because yeah, there's some people say, oh, there's lack of progress, but at the same time there is lots of progress. Like one of the characters, she's Onodera. She's like shy. She's a shy childhood friend who's never confessed. But that's like, again, it's like it's a hang up. That's something she needs to move past. She needs to grow as a person to be able to confess, and that's like her struggle throughout the most of the time it is portrayed comedically, but it's also it fucking matters. It's not just doing the tropes because it's doing the tropes. It's doing the tropes because it knows what it's fucking doing. And I need to watch the anime too, because the anime is by Studio Shaft, and I like Shaft shows, and I like Nisekoi, so it's like, well, I'm probably gonna like it. Like it's not finished, unfortunately. Like they only adapted like 100 chapters out of 229. Oh yeah, that's what. No, I wasn't done with Raku. Because the thing with Raku is like, yeah, he's perfect, but at the same time, like, okay, like, see, compare him to like, say, Araragi from Bakemonogatari. Like, he's always helping these girls, but like Raku never does anything. Like, he resolves to do something. He usually has some nice things to say, but like, it's very like especially towards the end. Like, there's one bit where Chitoge, she's her family is moving, and she doesn't want to move. She wants to stay with her friends and the boy she likes, even though he doesn't know. And of course, it's mutual. They want her to stay too. So it gets to a point where she's like stuck in her room because she's planning to they plan to break her out and have her live with them so she can stay there. But and Raku, he resolves to get her, to help her, and he and one of the other characters go infiltrate Chitoge's home to break her out, and Raku's like he gets confronted with like a bodyguard, and then he doesn't do anything because his dad, earlier Chitoge was like petitioning to the people of her Yakuza family to stay, and that basically over some time that swayed her father, and he decided like Chitoge gets saved, but not by Raku, by herself. What she did, she's like Marika, she was like a sickly girl who like became stronger. Like she has health problems, but she worked hard to get to healthier because she wanted for Raku to fall in love with her. And like these girls are putting in effort because like they fell in love, and they use Raku as sort of like a catalyst to grow. And this like goes back to fucking chapter 1, because where like Raku has this pendant that's like it's like a key, and there's something inside, it's not a key, it's a lock, and it needs a key to open it. and the girls have the key. Have each of the girls has a key. Like there's 4 girls with 4 keys, because again, Raku's passive. He doesn't do anything. He's there to be acted on by the girls. Like the power is in the hands of the girls. Like, which I think is like a bit of a flip from the harem thing, because again, in that generic harem I conceptualize, like the guy chooses the girl, but it's up to the girls to sort of, make themselves be chosen, or need to be, or like, and sort of how it resolves is like the girls sort of end up deciding they don't need him. I kind of spoiled it a little bit, but it's how it's presented that's really important. And the girl who wins, she does need Raku in a way. Like, hopefully I'll break that down in video, or maybe I'll even come to slightly different conclusions. I haven't fully unpacked everything there, like, but it's fucking good. Nisekoi is fucking good. Fight me.